10 o'clock, we'll open up our regular session of October 7th, 2015. If you would please silence or shut off your cell phones, would appreciate it. And please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
About time you made one of these meetings, buddy.
No.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any additions or deletions to the agenda that you have, Commissioner?
Like just for general discussion on some litigations against the Forest Service and Fish and Wildlife Service, and the subject matter with the BLM management grouse EIS affecting our ranchers.
Okay. Denise has other things to do this morning, so we're recording which we record all of them, but we're recording for minute purposes. And Commissioner Schown is in Washington DC today, so go ahead.
And I may be called upstairs for a testimony. If so, they'll come and get me, and I will basically.
And then we take a recess and come back into session whenever you're ready to come back.
I don't anticipate it happening within the next 2 hours, but it could.
They could. All right. 10 o'clock, public comment. Any public comment at this time? All
Your
right.
chance, James, your chance.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How the greenhouse they coming?
The 42nd group
Yeah,
greenhouse.
42nd June.
They've been dealing mostly with the town. I haven't chatted with them in weeks on end.
Isn't that the county I thought they're building the place?
To my knowledge, there's no permits been purchased at this time.
Or
They have talked with the planning department. There's nothing stopping them right now from doing whatever they want to do.
Okay.
I hear on the California side, there's an empty one down there if they want to rent it maybe, but the feds came and cleaned one out there, but yeah, there's nothing going on here that I'm aware of.
I mean, it's still there, but as far as anything moving, I don't know of anything progressing at this time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving on down, we'll do some of our untimed things. We do have, better get the telephone now. We do have a 10:10 timed item.
I need to go get a sheet of paper.
All right, so whenever you get back, we'll do some of the non-timed items. The first one will be the memorandum of understanding on the truancy. Legal counsel, Mr. Bailey, you've seen that. We had some discussion on it yesterday. This is same as what we done last year, except for the ordinance doesn't change any at all. The MOU is a little bit different, as was explained to us yesterday. And the MOU is the front page of what we have.
Yes, I've looked it over, it's routine.
All right. Commissioner Kestner gets back, we should be able to handle that. Maybe he decided not to come back.
That's true. I'll go check on it.
Yeah. Yeah. How fast can I appoint somebody to help make decisions?
That's the longest trip for a pen
My apologies for that. Should do that.
All right, Commissioner, I went ahead and started on our other business. The first one's memorandum of understanding on the truancy ordinance. And legal counsel reviewed it, the memorandum of understanding. And yesterday, Superintendent Nash gave us an overview. So you have anything to add, I'll make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding between Lake County and school districts within Lake County.
Yeah, and those districts would be the Lakeview, Paisley, and North Lake
Yep,
districts.
yep.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
For the audience, I don't know if it was covered yesterday, it was covered at a previous meeting when we had it, but maybe just a short statement for the audience on what the truancy entail.
Let it rip, go ahead.
Okay. Jim, can you tell us what this is? Basically, it's given the ESD a quicker means of dealing with kids who don't attend school. Because if they don't attend school, many times they really get behind. So it's kind of a legal means to ensure that the kids are in attendance at schools for their benefit. Anything further, Jim?
No, it's just, it creates a smoother system than we have right now,
Yeah.
which doesn't really fit together very well, so.
Always like to make sure that the audience know what we're talking about.
Yep, and there's a copy of the ordinance if anybody would ever like to look at it. Okay, we do have a few more minutes. Let's jump down to the 2015 fund exchange agreement, number 31036. This is a fund exchange agreement in our road department, where we're able to take federal funds, exchange those for 94 cents on the dollar. What that does is the federal guidelines are lifted at that time, makes the funds much more flexible. And with that, we're able to put more work on the ground. Let me find that one exactly.
How much fun are we talking about?
How much money are we talking about? We're talking about, we're going to trade $243,099 funds for $228,513 in state funds. So I'll make a motion to accept the 2015 fund exchange agreement plus Adel Road overlay in Lake County, agreement number 31036.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Basically, those two numbers is the change between the state and the county for whatever funds that the federal come down, which is quite a bit more. But that can be placed on the ground, it's still going through a lot of regulatory mechanisms that each have the cost.
You don't have no need, but you don't have those other things that go along with federal funds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You have a signature one? I had one here with the time on it.
You know, I
Yeah.
thought probably on, oh, you got one for signature. How'd you end up with it? You're so
Special.
efficient.
Special.
Someone calling in?
Yeah, someone, it's probably Lori for the park and Rec.
Hello? Hello? They're gone now.
They kind of gave up.
2 minutes.
Well, let's hit redial.
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign.
That won't work for us.
Do we need his phone number to call him? I have it.
They'll call back.
I bet
Yeah,
he
let's
calls
hope he
back.
They'll definitely call back.
Okay, so we're going to consider it 10:10, and we're going to open up the public hearing on the Park and Rec Master Plan. And Darwin, if you want to take front and center on this, and then we will get Roy on the phone. And this also, this is the hearings on the comprehensive plan amendment. Correct, Darwin?
Yep,
Okay, so
appreciate your time again, yeah, Lori.
do you have that number available, Ken?
Yes. sake of the audience, the comprehensive use plan make reference to the county development of park and rec plan. And it's been just in the comprehensive use. We have proceed to the fact of having developed our plan, but it's only for county facilities.
Yeah, Roy,
And this was
is that you?
a PowerPoint we couldn't went over.
Yeah, it is, hi.
Okay, this is Commissioner Winters and Commissioner Kester, along with everybody in the audience. And our hearing just now was opened, so thank you for calling in.
Great, thanks for having me.
All right. Go ahead and give an overview, and then
Sure.
we'll take any public comments at that time. For that, we would
Yeah,
close
so in 2014, the county received the Oregon Park and Rec grant that allowed us to go over a master planning exercise to adopt a master plan. And we've had a work team on that in conjunction with the community services group from the University of Oregon. And we've come to a point where we've got a draft document that is, intended fully to be a living document. It'll be updated as projects are accomplished and as priorities change. And this really allows the county to have a document we can turn to try to, when we apply for grants, show them first and foremost that we have a plan, and as we identify, when there's grant opportunities, that this is a priority item within our plan, and hopefully we'll find greater success in obtaining some funds to try to build the resources that we have here and add to them, and provide essentially a greater service to the citizens within Lake County. The plan only addresses those assets which the county has, doesn't talk about the other agencies or the town, or Christmas Valley Park and Rec necessarily, the assets that they have. But this process has been well received by the public. I believe that there have been surveys that went out that kind of tried to vet those opinions of the citizens of our county, and the team at the University of Oregon, Roy's on the phone, and they put in a great deal of time to analyze that data and build a plan that would reflect the opinions of all stakeholders within those that were at least at the table during those discussions, and public here, public work sessions really is what they amounted to. But at this point, the Planning Commission, they held a hearing on the 15th of September, at which time they made a recommendation to approve this plan by reference into the comprehensive plan under planning guidelines, section 8, which is the recreation needs of the county, under plan policy number 8, which would read that the Lake County Park and Rec Master Plan will be utilized as the guideline for parks and recreation implementation. And so that's where we're at, and we've had a hearing yesterday, and not really any comments at the Planning Commission level or yesterday's meeting, but that's a summary.
So at this time, it's open to the public for any discussion, or not discussion, any things during the hearing process they'd like to bring forward. Darwin, with that said, have you had any interest, or has there been any written interest on this? So there's nothing to submit at this time? Okay. Is there
I
any-
have submitted to legal counsel this morning a draft of what would be the ordinance or resolution, whichever you decide, which is really just a summary of the Planning Commission recommendation. So that would be what you would sign and you'd get adopted.
Okay. Okay. Is there any, Rory, did you need to do any type of overview at all, or are you good where we're at before we take public
I'm
testimony?
good with where we're at. Yeah, I think Darwin summed it up nicely.
Okay. Is there any public testimony at this time? Can't even beg anybody to say anything. All right, with that, we will close the hearing at 14 minutes after 10. And there was no public testimony yesterday's hearing or today's hearing. There was comments by myself and Commissioner Kestner after the hearing yesterday. We had those discussions. It's a working document. Everything was good. So Darwin, legal counsel, Darwin just gave you, we can either do this by resolution or by ordinance, it sounds like. I thought we just done it by motion, so I'd done the amendment to the comprehensive plans.
I think just do it by the resolution, designated in the ordinance, so that's my recommendation.
Do it by resolution.
Do it by the resolution.
Do we have a
draft
resolution number
to Darwin.
and everything, so we can make a motion in that fashion? Because we don't have that paperwork.
There's a copy.
Okay, Evan Woods.
Go ahead and make it.
Just approve it and we'll take it.
Do we need to read the resolution aloud?
No.
Verbatim?
Don't even go there, Commissioner.
I was gonna give it to you because I speak, I'm bilingual, Cantonese and English.
I'll make a motion to approve of resolution number 2015-10-07 in the matter of text amendments to the Lake County Comprehensive Plan by the Board of Lake County Commissioners, with the recommendation coming from the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion?
I'd like to give applause to the people who worked on it, specifically the U of O grad students, Lori and your counterparts. Darwin Johnson been critical, Dave Berman been critical, John Adams was very critical in getting the grant put together. Ray Sims been involved, Chris Bishop with the Real Land Management, Recreation, been Glenna Wade of the Christmas Valley Park and Rec was a key element for that section of the county. And Kelly Rimler, she was a rail student that was here at that time. So many thanks to those folks.
And most especially Ann.
I was gonna get there, it's just, yes.
Thank you all very, very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks,
And
Darwin.
I never
Thanks,
gave the
Ann.
opportunity to say anything. Was there anything you wanted to add? I apologize.
No, I think that, the public process was, I thought, very successful, well attended. I think Darwin summed it up nicely, that they really did do a great job getting that information and capturing what we heard from stakeholders and citizens about the needs and desires for park and recreation opportunities in Lake County. So I think this document's gonna be very useful going forward. I think we're seeing opportunities to use it already.
Yes.
So it's just, we'll see where it goes from here.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roy.
With
Yeah, thank you.
two bits to reiterate. It is just for the county parks and rec facilities. We know that the state has their parks, the Bureau of Land Management has their recreation facilities, Forest Service, et cetera, Parks and Rec up north. This is just for the county, but one of the purpose, in my view, is to kind of mend all those together so that tourists come in, they can see all the opportunities and how our facilities connects or interplays with other opportunities.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next item. So, all right, unless you want to stay on the phone and listen, we're gonna sign off from you.
Okay, sounds good. And unfortunately, I've got to get to class, but thank you all very much.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd rather go to class than to listen to us. Okay, so we don't have another timed item until 11, so we'll move on down. Community Justice Plan Agreement, 5125. That one. And I never, Commissioner, I never arranged for anybody to come back up today, being that they've done a presentation yesterday. And this particular one's Jake Greer, so I didn't ask him to come up.
No, he gave a pretty good overview of the funding that comes down and how it be spread to all the different functions of the Community Justice Department.
This agreement is between the state of Oregon and Lake County. It's a biennial plan. This is where the dollars come in, the state dollars come into our community justice, which is our adult corrections. And it's a 2-year plan, and the total amount is $1,960,849, and that's per biennial. So split that in half per year. from what we budgeted during our budget process, this comes out roughly about $80,000 less than what was projected. Our director yesterday, Jake Greer, said that he is able to make those adjustments within the budget in this year and plans on the same adjustments on next year, so that the funding will still have the same level of services and will still have the same amount of programs out there. So, with that said, I will make a motion to accept agreement number 5125 between the state of Oregon and Lake County.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept agreement number 5125. Further discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So, without Denise here, it's almost.
Be careful.
Almost could use a little help. Okay, so the next item is Warner Creek Correctional Facility Amendment number 2, and this is to ratify that. I welcome Mr. Brown. This is one that I signed. It was coming to the time frame. This is an agreement between Lake County and Warner Creek Correctional Facilities, basically the state. And this is so that we're able to leverage the supervised work crews. And this is just, brings it up to date. Is there anything you want to add, or did you even know it was on the agenda?
Well, I saw it there, so I thought I'd better show up, see what it was.
So, I would like to do this as motion. I did sign it, but we do need to officially do this. So I'll make a motion to accept amendment number 2 between Lake County and Warner Creek Correctional Facility.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Basically, it's just the same agreement, but it just adjusted the cost figures due to inflation.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I guess I put it here for signature, and just
Yeah.
ratifying it. All right, the next one, Commissioner Kistner, is all you. Our Commissioner Challenge, he's not able to speak right now, but Klamath Lake Forest Health Partnership OWED grant proposal, and it has action consideration. I've seen some emails, and we had a discussion yesterday of being able to cover some costs by participation this year, could be considered as an in-kind match, and then next budget year, consider some financial match.
Yeah, this,
I guess you can.
this Klamath Lake Forest Health Partnership been around since early 1990s. It's a nonprofit group of predominantly private forest landowners who wants to come together and work with Department of Forestry, with the Forest Service if they're doing something. But basically help the forest landowners manage their timberland or their landscape, their ecosystem in a healthy fashion. And they've been around since '92, but they kind of went quiet for a little while. Now they're restarted, and I think it's a great opportunity to for this group to have the private landowners interface, especially where they're juxtaposition with federal lands. And they're applying for a grant from OWEB for an executive director capacity grant to be the person that really pulls things together. And it's $5,000 for a partner. And I believe we've agreed to be a partner to that. We attend the meetings. But $5,000 is a 2-year grant, so that's only $2,500 a year. And just, we haven't budgeted for this, so we can meet that $2,500 per year this first year just by our in-kind participation, traveling in meetings, help them get their plans up and going. Next year, we consider either continued in-kind or financial. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what the federal agencies are doing with their cohesive strategy of working together. It just brings the private landowners into that fold.
So, it has action consideration for its in kind. Do we need to make a motion for this year? as in participation, and we'll use our travel, whichever commissioner goes, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and any commissioners can go, it's an open invite.
Okay, so I'll let you put that motion together.
I'll make a motion that we, as a partner of the Klamath Lake Forest Health Partnership Group and their application to OWEL, that we contribute in-kind for this first year, at least $2,500 of in-kind match, which is our time to work with them. My
Value of our time.
value of our time and travel.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and second. Further discussion. First task for you or Commissioner Shawn to do is have it renamed to the Lake Klamath Forest Health Partnership.
I brought that up at one of the meetings.
I figured you probably would have. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And as you saw yesterday, I extended an invite to the Klamath County Commissioners to engage with this group also.
Yeah.
We lend a lot of support.
Good, good. I had intentionally went past Obsidian Renewables anticipating Mr. Gregory, and I'm sorry,
Laurie Hutchinson.
Lori, to be here, so we have plenty of time. Let's go back to Obsidian Renewables Payment in lieu tax agreement proposals. What we have is come from Obsidian Renewables. We have a request for 3 different pilot programs that they that through this year, or through legislation that was passed, there's options per site for commissioners of those counties to give a pilot program, which is a guaranteed of $7,000 per megawatt taxation to up to 20 years. And so we have a proposal, 3 different projects. One's 8 megawatts, one's 4.6, what was it, 4.95, and another one that's 0.333. Had a very good discussion yesterday, a long discussion, and a lot of information came forward to us. So at this time, Todd, I would give you time if you want to give a kind of overview, or if you want us to just hammer right through this.
Sure, I just, for the record, Todd Gregory with Obsidian Renewables. Yesterday, we did discuss these agreements for a while. One comment that, one analysis that you were making yesterday was kind of doing a comparison between, you know, what you or a typical person would see on their home property taxes versus these property tax versus what our request is. And I did some thinking on that last night, and it's really kind of an apples and oranges comparison, because I should have talked about this yesterday, but you know, when you're looking at at your home, that's an appreciating asset. So the reason why your property taxes go up every year is because they do an evaluation of what the value of your home is every year, and typically that valuation goes up. So the tax rate doesn't go up on your home, it's just that the value goes up on your home, so you pay a little bit more tax. But with a solar farm like we're doing here, it's you're basically getting taxed on equipment. So that's a depreciating asset. So as the property depreciates, you pay less, and then when you get to a certain point where it looks like it's going to be, it depreciates to such a level that then they'll look at the income method. And the income method also goes down over time, because like we talked about yesterday, they use a 20-year rolling average of income. So if you have a 20-year power purchase agreement, then you know, as the years fall off of the 20 years, then the valuation goes down as they calculate that. So I wanted to kind of clarify that in today's meeting about why it's not really a good analysis to look at a home property tax, even though that's what people are typically used to seeing versus a
Personal property.
yeah, personal property tax and industrial tax return. So I wanted to kind of just clarify that with you guys, and of course urge you once again to approve these agreements for
for, sake of continuity and to have some certainty in the market, I think is going to be welcomed on the developer side, and it should be, at least the feedback we heard from all the counties really that were involved in drafting the legislation to come up with this program. All the counties and the cities really wanted to have some certainty as well in how they, so they can forecast the tax effects and the economic benefits of these projects.
Thank you. We can have a tax discussion forever, because I'm on the side that we operate off a taxation, so we're always trying to look at revenue for general fund to operate with. So me and you are going to look at it probably two different views. Now, if I was the business out there, I'd want the tax breaks that this will bring, so probably don't want to get too far into that discussion. The only thing that, and I don't have a proposal to change these, but I did take into consideration to look at, we have options. The only option we really have as commissioners, if we accept the pilot programs, is the number of years. And I didn't take the time to look at a 5-year, a 10-year, and I'm just using these numbers as an average, 5, 10, 15, and 20 year. I know Klamath County went with a 15-year. The analysis that you gave us, the 20-year comes out better for the county, so I don't know the reasoning to go 15. So, I never done an absolute analysis of going with a 10 or a 5. You probably wouldn't even been interested if we went down to a 10 or a 5, I wouldn't think. So, I don't know if you've had any chance to.
I haven't delved into it as much as you have. But in the long term, it comes out better on a 20-year as the depreciation goes down.
No. We have, right now they're paying $10,000 a year on this one project, taxation, and it'll go down to $2,331. Now, in that particular project, you go to different ones, and it might be different, but, yeah.
I don't know.
So, there's too many variables in there. If we went with a 5-year red zone, and then that would take off the first 5 years of
Taxation.
Of the tax, the formula we had before. The thing of it is, and like I say, we can talk and make argument any way we want on taxation, depending on which side you're on. What they're requesting is a tax break for the life of the expected life of their power purchase agreement and the expected life of the panels.
And they'd be paying in lieu of taxes.
Yeah, and so I do have one question, though, before we act on this, Todd. If, and this is what generally will be real, is let's say 10 years down the road, there's better technology, there's better producing panels, and you replace those panels at a higher output, that basically would extend the life expectancy of that plant another 10 years. Is there any triggers or anything to look at that?
Well, under the power purchase agreement, it wouldn't be allowed to do that until the end of the power, until after the power purchase agreement. The power purchase agreement is set for a certain amount of capacity. So, so if that were to happen, and it may very well happen after 20 years, after the power purchase agreement runs, but it won't happen.
Well, that's right. That's the first time I heard that, because I thought over the years, and I'm not going to say it was you, but I thought investors said that with technology changing, that they would upgrade their panels.
No, on some of the on a negotiated power purchase agreement, sometimes that's available, and I have said that I foresee that it could be economically viable, that in 10, 15 years, where they'll go in there and basically repower the plant and
Sure.
Power it back up.
Well, they do degrade a little bit too.
They do, but in these circumstances, we have again, these are PERPA agreements under their qualified facility agreement, so that the agreements will allow for that. So there's not gonna be any kind of repowering of the
Okay.
plants
Right.
until at least.
Sorry, I didn't ask that question yesterday during our work session. I'm surprised you went into agreement that you can't
Well,
but
this was, like I said,
that's
this
your
wasn't
call,
the
obviously.
agreement that we would have negotiated, it's just the one that's available, that they have to give us.
Okay.
So,
So we have 3 different pilot programs. If we act on them, the most significant that needs to be done right away, that we talked with Todd yesterday, Mr. Gregory, they're right in the middle of negotiations to get investors here on an 8 megawatt, which is a very big, I consider a very big solar plant. So
And that's a black cap too.
that is the Black Cap 2.
Want to make a motion?
What, I don't know.
Then I'll make a motion that we accept the payment in lieu of taxes agreement with the Obsidian Renewables for Black Cap 2 as presented here.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the pilot payment in lieu of taxes agreement between Obsidian Renewables Black Cap 2 project in Lake County. It's an 8 megawatt system, $7,000 per megawatt, $56,000 a year for 20 years is what the agreement has. Further discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Feel better, Todd? Very much
So far.
2 or 3.
Mr. Ross, you had a question out there.
Yes.
We'll take it over.
When you take the consideration, you talk about the value of the panel, because you're gonna put out this.
All of the equipment, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're gonna put out the same water for 20 years.
No, it actually goes down over time. There's a little bit of degradation that goes down.
Well, I had mine for 5 years and they had went down.
Yeah, typically they'll go down about 0.5% to 0.75% a year.
And was in 20 years.
Your eye's been adjusting at night.
Okay, we have 2 others that right now they're not under an enterprise zone or anything, and we are allowed to be able to bring these into it because they're not in an agreement on an enterprise zone or a red zone, so these ones can be brought into the 20-year pilot program, correct?
Yes.
By the legislation I had read. At first, I didn't think they were eligible until you let us know that they weren't in a red zone agreement.
Yeah, they're not eligible.
They're not eligible.
Yeah, they're not totally large enough.
So I'll make a motion to accept the payment in lieu of tax agreement between Obsidian Renewables and Lake County on the Lakeview 500.
And that's for the 0.495 megawatts.
Yep.
I'll second motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I'll make a motion to accept payment in lieu of tax agreement on Black Cap Solar in Lake County called Lakeview 363, which is 0.333 megawatts.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Mr. Gregory, Lori or Laura?
Lori.
Lori, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we gonna discuss the mineral stuff later? Or?
Darn.
We don't have anything on our agenda for that, but we could.
Sounds like a discussion that we wanna have though, Kimberly's here.
I think we take latitude. This discussion would be on
Yeah, we can just do it in legal updates.
mineral rights.
Yeah, we can do it on legal updates.
Okay.
We can go ahead and do that, all right? And so this is under legal updates, this is, Mr. Gregory is purchasing property, and he is requesting for the Lake County to relinquish the mineral rights to the pieces of property, which, over the years, Lake County has been the one that has retained those mineral rights on several
Right,
parcels
so
across
it's,
Lake County.
kind of to give it a little bit of historical basis, and Mr. Bailey, feel free to jump in here if I don't have this completely correct, but back in the, going back to the 40s, maybe even earlier, when the county would foreclose on property and then resell it, you know, in tax sales, way back in the 40s and 50s, they would retain the mineral rights, you know, on the deeds and the title, you know, for properties that were sold, you know, in tax sales and whatnot. So over the generations, you know, there's been a lot of those properties out there, especially with all the OVL land, and been kind of changed hands over, you know, the last 60, 70 years. We have acquired quite a bit of property in Lake County. Some of it is OVL, you know, these OVL lots we've kind of cleaned up. Some of it's old Penn Phillips lots up in Christmas Valley. And they have so when we run a title report on these and present it to our investors, you know, they like to see, you know, clean title to the property. So what happens is when we get a preliminary title report, these the retention of these mineral rights by the county shows up as an exception on the title. So in a couple of the projects that we've already done here, we spent a considerable amount of time and legal fees and effort and, you know, a lot of consternation about these rights that have been held by the county and trying to get people comfortable that the county's not actually going to go in and dig up the property and try to extract some sort of mineral rights underneath the solar project. So we decided with these next projects, it'd just be a lot easier if we resolved it on all of our properties going forward. And by resolving it, is to have the county basically transfer those mineral rights back to us. And there's a administrative process to do that that's kind of guided by by statute, by Oregon statute. So I've been working with Darwin, and I think Darwin's been working with Mr. Bailey about how to go through this process to transfer those mineral rights. So what I wanted to try to get from the county today is a commitment to go through that process to its end, and because it's a fairly, you know, it's a lengthy process. It takes at least 6 weeks, I think, to get through. So if we're going to get through it, we should get started and get the process hammered out and know exactly what we're going to do, and calendar some meetings to transfer certain rights and things like that, so we can get it done. So I think Mr. Bailey has kind of an analysis of what that process looks like.
Well, we have a new ordinance, it's a pilot program, you pay for those mineral rights over 20 years.
And if you develop.
Thank you for answering that question.
So,
Commissioner Winter, you're leaving off one critical point. So yes, for mineral rights for actually 20 years, but if you happen to discover and develop some minerals, we get 50% royalty.
yeah,
There you go.
personally, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not all.
Coming from Louisiana, I know that's the way it's normally done there, but.
Yeah.
So the process, you're saying is about 6 weeks. I think Mr. Bailey, go ahead and let us know what process it does take if we decided to start a process.
Well, we've actually, Darwin and I sort of started already in analyzing the situation. First, there's nothing legally wrong with doing this. I mean, this is a totally normal thing to do. And the motivation for it, that Mr. Gregory explained, makes complete sense to me in terms of saving money and having to deal with the headaches of not owning the mineral rights. On our side, the only thing we want to make sure of in terms of carrying out our duties as a county is to be certain of the value, so that when we make a sale, that we're accepting an appropriate amount of payment. Practically speaking, I don't think we're going to have any surprises in the area, but we do have to at least evaluate the studies that Mr. Gregory had provided to us, and Darwin had started on that. I'm not sure where he is in that process, to have someone evaluate the assessment of the value of mineral rights, so that we can determine whether or not this is a fair purchase price.
Basically, you need to determine if there are any minerals of value.
Right, so, I think, the way that I kinda have it structured in my mind is, see, we have to do a geotech study on our properties, generally, when we're doing the solar project, so.
But the geotech study is just
A
the
geotech study,
surface. And
well, it's, it goes, they do, what they do is and I've forwarded a couple of the reports to Darwin that we have, our geotech study, and, I mean, it's not a full analysis of what's, 200 feet under the ground, but they do core drillings, every so many feet, they do the sample core drillings all over these sites, down to, 18, 20 feet, and they determine the characteristics of the soil, and it's nothing that you wouldn't expect, sandy loam and alkaline ground. So what they're looking for is things that would cause issues with driving piles, and things like that. So looking for bad rock, for example, under the ground that we might run into and so forth. I think that we could use those studies as at least a cursory analysis of what's under the ground. I think we all kind of know that there aren't any valuable mineral rights under this ground.
So we didn't know that.
Well,
So mineral includes oil, gas,
Anything down there.
anything,
Gravel even.
rock
It's-
for,
Yeah,
rock for
geothermal.
everything.
Yeah, geothermal, anything that's there of any value below the surface, that's what we're talking about.
It could be 18 feet, or it could be 1,800 feet. or
Right.
more.
Theoretically.
So, what we're trying, what I had proposed was say, look, let's take the geotech studies that we've already done. We're trying to do this cost effectively and efficiently as possible. Take the geotech studies that we've done, have, you guys have somebody review those studies. I recommended Anderson Engineering review them, and you guys pick whoever you want to review those studies. I don't necessarily, think we need to hire a full-on geologist to come in and do a full analysis. I think that would be, cost burdensome, and, it would probably get the exact same result as if, we had Daryl review it. I would say, have Anderson Engineering review the studies. He's likely gonna say, in his view, there's probably nothing of value underneath there. We'll determine a price, and then
You do your geotechnical study, and then he would review your
He just-
18-foot depth.
yeah, he would review the study that we've already had compared, done, and make a determination, give the county a letter based on his opinion. And
So if we ask him to review those, the cost of reviewing would be county cost from the,
well, we pay for that cost. We pay for any cost that, the county would have to go through to get it done.
so.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't wanna pay for a $20,000 study, and
And just on that point, what Anderson, whoever is gonna evaluate it, would be doing, would be looking for something unusual that would indicate something else we'd have to investigate. At that point, I think you come back and revisit the question of whether or not you need a geologist. I don't think we're gonna find anything there because it's all pretty uniform. But that's what he'd be looking for, is like, wait a second, this study shows something unusual, consistent with whatever. And then I think we have to come back and talk about that or do further exploration, see what it might be.
Okay. So, we're talking sort of in general, can you give us how many properties that we're talking about, or?
we sent a list over of all.
And these are all OVL lots out here where you're.
There's some here, right, there's some here that are OVL lots down here south of town, and then there's some that's up in Christmas Valley.
Okay,
So we've had studies performed in both areas.
okay.
You review those, and then presuming that he's gonna come back and say, well, there's no value to anything that's under the ground there, we put a de minimis value on those rights for everything on the list, say, like $300, and then you guys would say, okay, we're gonna I think you give an order, it says we intend to transfer these mineral rights for a cost of, price of $300. Then I think there's a notice and waiting period of 4 weeks, I think.
Was it 4 weeks?
Yeah, it needs to be published 4 consecutive weeks,
Yeah, so
not
Publish it.
earlier than 6 weeks.
So publish it for 4 weeks, and then we come back, and then you give the order, and then we transfer them.
So it's not a hearing process, it's just,
Right. No, it's not a hearing. Well, no, it's just notice of the public.
The statute calls it a hearing, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like your normal ordinance hearing
No.
process. I mean, it's allowing for the public to come in and
So-
say, here's what
we do the 4 weeks notice, then we can make a decision.
I.
Well, you make the decision, and then you put it out there for 4 weeks. And if nobody complains or, comes forward or whatever, then it goes forward.
Well, I think there's two parts. One is you make the decision to start the process, and then you take the hearings, and then you make a decision at the end of the hearing process.
So now you are saying there's hearings.
Well, yeah, it's not like the normal ordinance process.
Okay,
But,
but we will run hearings, okay, if we decide.
It's a public process.
right.
Okay.
I have concern about 18 feet, because most minerals, that's just the lake sediment. First off, all these ORVs are usually clustered, adjoining or whatever. So would you need to, that's for us to decide, to pay $320 or whatever for each and every one, or would you just do a sampling within a cluster of ORVs?
Well, I think Mr. Bailey had it right, and he said in your analysis, what they would look at is indicators of what we already have. Now, if there's some sort of indicator that says, well, if you find this in the first 18 feet, then maybe there's likely to be something deeper, then you look further. But if it's not, then maybe you just stop right there.
I think part of what we ask Anderson is an 18-foot analysis sufficient to indicate the value appropriate. And if he says, oh no, it's gotta be more than that, then we have to talk about that.
I would think also, first step I would do as an individual is just inquire to Dogami if they have any information that could be enlightening to us. Dogami being Department of Geology and Mineral Industries.
Yeah, I think that would be good to have it be part of the scope for your engineer that's going to do that.
Have you had all these core sampling and everything ready done
Yeah.
on all the properties?
Well, we've had it done on the Black Cat property. We've had it done on the Fremont property up in Christmas Valley. We haven't had it done on all the ones in Christmas Valley, but we're,
The ones that you're requesting, as soon as you get that done, that is whenever we could probably start the process and have it reviewed, whether it's Anderson or a geologist, they have looked at it.
no, it's been done on Fremont up there. We haven't had one done on every single property in Christmas Valley. We're hoping that, because the properties are in close enough, geologically, close enough proximity to each other,
Okay.
and, it all looks the same. They're all the same kind of property. We can use the Fremont study to be a representative sample for all of the Christmas Valley area sites.
And again, that's a question for the,
Yeah, that's,
whoever evaluates it.
yeah, that'd be the question I would ask the geologist, is if you feel like this is sufficient?
Now, the ones in Black Cat, we've had core drillings all over that.
Okay. And you got all that information to Darwin?
Yes.
Okay. So if we want to do this, then we would just officially say today, let's start the process.
Right, give the instruction
Give
to
the
Darwin.
direction to.
yeah, the statute under ORS 275.314 says the county may make an order declaring its intention to make such transfer and setting a time and place for hearings, and it shall not be set earlier than 6 weeks after the order. So essentially, we enter in the order, and that's why we kind of talked about that.
So if we could enter into an
Declare our
order.
intention to sell this, and I've got information from our county clerk, and just some of the examples when we have taken this process, but you know, that full documentation I don't have other than the resolution, which talked about the intent to sell,
So,
or to convey.
just, and we have an 11 o'clock time thing, so we may have to excuse from this if we continue to go on it. We can come back to it. So, I'm still struggling with the process here, I guess. Before we said, yeah, we're considering, or we're going to possibly do that, do we have a geologist or somebody look at that first before we start that process?
So I don't know if Daryl Anderson is
I'm
a
not-
licensed
I'm not
geologist.
sure that Daryl's the one that we would have. Do you use
My
Daryl for
only
any of?
my
Is
only,
there a conflict, do you use Daryl for any of your survey work or any of your work?
We have used him for some boundary survey work, but,
It would probably be appropriate for us to go with somebody other than who
well,
you hired, I would think.
yeah, I don't know,
so for, you know,
he's a county
Surveyor.
surveyor.
He's an elected county surveyor.
But not a geologist.
when I was doing kind of some background work on this and trying to, you know, get an example, Harnett County gave me an example of a study that was done by Tim K. Smith out of Hines. And he did it in 2009, and the total for this study of just one lot was $635, which in '09, so, you know, surely his cost would probably be more, but he has a license, I see that he's a licensed geologist, and, you know, so he might be an option. I've got, there is a phone number actually on this, so I can.
So on the process side of it, do we talk to the geologist and have this evaluated before we start the process?
Well, would you read the section on that order?
Yeah, so the, this is ORS 275.314, and I'm skipping kind of halfway down, but it says if the governing body of the county finds that such rights are of little or no, or doubtful value, and that it would be in the best interest of the county to transfer such rights to the owner of the surface rights, the governing body of the county may make and enter an order declaring its intention to make such transfer and setting a time and place for hearing objections thereto. A time for the hearing shall be set not earlier than 6 weeks after the date of the order.
Yeah, you can't do that now, because you have to have a finding that it's of little or minimal value.
So-
Right, yeah, so we need the geologist first, then an order, then 6 weeks later the hearing, so.
So, Mr. Gregory, you agreed to pay the geologist that we get to review this?
Well, yeah, let's put some parameters on that, so,
I have a certificate.
yeah,
from
why don't
Arkansas.
why don't you let me review it, and then we'll make that determination, if it's reasonable,
See,
and
that-
we'll do that,
That's why I probably should have just read the whole 3.14, because it,
yeah.
you know, it says, each application presented to the governing body of the county under, ORS 275.312 must be accompanied by evidence satisfactory to the governing body of the county showing that the applicant is the owner of the surface rights to the land described in the application, and also by a cash deposit or an irrevocable letter of credit issued by an insured institution as defined in ORS, in an amount sufficient to reimburse the county for all costs of such transfer, including but not limited to the cost of investigation and legal work, which shall be paid by the applicant. And later in 3.16, it talks about the sum of all those monies
Right.
then being paid in full before the deed's transferred. But that would be after the order that
Right.
says we are
So
transferring.
the RS says they're liable for all costs,
Yeah.
basically, but what you're saying is you would like to be a party of seeing what those costs are gonna be before.
Right.
Well, I mean, that could really radically change his desire to purchase the mineral rights if the cost of the
Right.
analysis.
And I think that's why
exceeds the
deposit is important, then you just,
Well, that's
forget
right.
it.
But, so yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go through this process in terms of practically speaking, number one, we have to find someone who's going to do the analysis. But part of that is going to be to see their estimate of the cost, so we can then present that back to Mr. Gregory, who might say, hold the phone, we're not so interested anymore. Or, sure, that's fine. And then we go through the analysis, you get the report, and you make a finding of minimal value, and then you would issue the order to go through this 4-hearing process.
Okay, so for today, by consensus of the board, we can give direction to Darwin to investigate and look for a geologist and
Get an estimate
Get an
on what
estimate.
the cost would be.
Really quickly, so Plan B, if it turns out to be like, it's just gonna be way too cost burdensome and so forth to move forward, would be that Obsidian would come back to the board and say, look, it's too burdensome to go through the full process. Can you at least give us a letter that we can put on file at the clerk's office that proclaims that the county will not, in fact, exercise its rights as long as there's a development sitting on top of the land?
for costs.
How about,
The problem with the Plan B is a distraction Plan A. So let's go for Plan
I
A.
understand the concern. But,
So long as there's a project on top of the land.
but wouldn't it preclude direct, diagonal drilling or anything of that nature as long as it's off-site? Personally, I like the geology better than a surveyor because what we're looking at is geology. And I'd like to have a geologist say that you got
There
a
is-
100-foot
If-
lake bed sediment.
And if
there's
you have a
nothing
guy
below it.
that can do it for pretty
Yeah.
cheap, then I think that's a
Good, there's a geologist here in our incubator building, so to speak.
As long as you got
I
a
don't know,
ink stand.
he's working, okay, so,
But we'd like to do it as diligently as possible.
okay, I actually have a time, 11 o'clock. So I believe that where we're at right now is to give Darwin direction to get some estimates, check on more than one opportunity for a geologist that's certified geologist, get some costs together, and we'll bring it back and communicate with Mr. Gregory also. Does that
Yes.
sound good, Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Todd?
Yeah, but the timing of this is gonna be, like,
So hopefully I'll have estimates real quick, and if we can get somebody that's doable, hopefully by week's end, we can say, please go and do the study, but I needed,
This
we'll
week's
need a
end?
deposit for sure.
yeah, okay.
And I think after the estimates are given, then we'll know kind of where a deposit would be appropriate. But, I mean, just for the publications and legal time
Well,
and
now
into
that
this, I
what-
can't imagine it being less than $1,000.
Where I'm at is giving you direction to bring those things together, not start the process. It needs to come back to the board for us to make a motion to, that we're going to go into this process.
We could have a special session, I mean, if we need to, we could do it that way.
Okay.
But to progress forward.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to move on to our 11 o'clock. This is our exit interview with our auditors. We'll get them on the line.
Oh, these, and the other ones on the, no, I think they have copies of it, so they're just executed.
On the,
I mean, do they have to,
Do
they have copies of it?
Right.
they can send it over to me, yeah, David executed.
Yep.
Okay.
Kara's one. Welcome.
Morning, Professional Group, this is Jim.
Yes, this is Commissioner Brad Winters, wanting to get Kara on the phone for our exit interview for our audit.
Yes, just one moment.
Thank you. Christie, are you here for the fund exchange?
I guess for the exit interview.
Okay.
This is Kara.
Kara, Commissioner Winters and Commissioner Kestner and Crumrine, legal counsel and others are here.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Did you hear what I said?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I was saying hello to everybody.
Oh,
Hello.
I thought you were saying hello like you couldn't hear us.
Oh, sorry, no.
We're, I don't believe, I think the show is yours from here. Is there,
Okay,
okay?
all right, well, hello, everybody. We were there auditing a couple weeks ago. Last week, we were back in Lakeview, so I dropped off a representation letter with Ann, and it is a letter that we do every year stating that you have given us everything we've asked for, you've answered our questions to the best of your knowledge. You have title to all the assets you have title to, and so on. And we have Ann and Jay sign that, so that should be in the mail soon, if not already.
Yes.
Okay, and then we also will be doing an attorney letter. I do need to talk to you, Jay. I was going to email you and I have not.
Jay is not in here at this time, I'm
Okay.
sorry, Kara.
Okay, so I will be emailing him to ask about anything that needs to go in the attorney letter, and we can just have Jay sign that, or one of the commissioners. I'm not sure what we usually do, but that will be an email down the road before the audit's over. I also dropped off the progress bill with Ann, and then the last thing, I emailed the management letter. Does everyone have the management letter in front of them?
Yes,
Yes.
everybody needs to, I believe.
Okay, yes, a couple pages, and this is just a draft, so if we come up with anything else or we need to delete something, it is just a draft as we continue on. So the first point under internal controls is that we continue to note a lack of segregation of duties in the area of payroll and accounts payable. This is the same issue we have every year with Nikki being a check signer. And as long as you guys are aware of that and aware of the risk, then we are doing our part by stating it and we can move on. So that's the same as it has been the last several years. The employee handbook is 10 years old, we noticed, and it may not reflect what you're currently doing. So that was something we noted. The payroll information from the road department to Nikki in the payroll department has no evidence of approval by Rick, the supervisor. So we suggest some kind of document in place or email from Rick to Nikki saying, yes, this is what payroll is this month. I okay it. So we can audit it and know that someone is reviewing what those men and women out there are saying they worked.
Okay, Kara, you and I talked about that some.
Yes.
And it seemed like that it's pretty simple, and we do have the office manager for the road department here, Kristen
Okay.
Horn. Is it as simple, I know they use IRIS system, and I'm going to talk a little about school, so Christy will correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So that, and Ann, she has many years' experience too. Is it as simple as just emailing a copy of what they do through the IRIS system, or just noting that Rick has signed it? How do we fix this?
Well, we need something directly from Rick,
Something from Rick?
or either something that he has at the road department that we can come look at with the payroll report with it, because I believe the IRIS information is emailed directly to Nikki from Christy, is that correct?
Yeah, Christy's here, and
Okay,
she,
yeah.
I believe she has something to bring forward. Go ahead, Christy.
So what we've done since you guys have left, I print the IRIS report, and that gets reviewed by Rick. And then I email it. Nothing goes out of that office without it being reviewed by Rick. But now what we're doing is, I've printed them, Rick signs each page that he has reviewed it, and then I scan that one and send it to Nikki.
Okay.
So now
That's
she has
perfect.
it with Rick's signature on it.
Yes, okay,
So
that's
that
great.
work? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing currently, and he is also signing each time card.
Right, and we did look at some time cards this year, and I think
We had two.
they were okay,
Yeah, we had two missing a signature.
Is that what it was too?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Okay. Okay, yeah, so that's a good change.
So that'll clarify, that'll take care of that?
Yes, it will.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, so I'll make a note on there that we've noted a change in the system since the year end. Yeah. Okay. And we did look at time cards again. We looked at 60, and there were 4 that weren't approved by a supervisor. And this was better than it was last year, so that is good for the time cards.
Yes.
And did I email a copy of what we looked at?
Yes, you did.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. So you have that if you want to dig into that any further.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, under cash, the reconciliation between the bank report and the general ledger report for the ATM, there was no evidence of approval. It's possible that it was approved and reviewed or done together. Just some initials that it is approved and reviewed would be great. And that it's counted at the machine periodically to match back to the statements.
You've already taken care of that, I would assume.
Yeah, the ATM's actually not a bank account. It is tied to a bank account that gets all of those approvals. And then the cash counting periodically is kind of easy when it goes to 0. So, yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Okay.
In the bank reconciliation process, Ann has the option to do some adjustments while she's doing it. And we just suggest that that adjustment line be used as little as possible because it doesn't show it as a regular in or out of the bank statement. It just shows up in an adjustment. Sometimes it's large due to mental health, public health payments, but there are some that we think can be avoided. So we just suggest using that line as little as possible during the bank reconciliation process. And the last thing with cash is evidence over the review of the bank reconciliation was lacking 12.6% of the time. So if those reviews are happening, an initial a signature would be great so we can test that it really was being reviewed. And it was better than last year. I did look at that, but 12% is still pretty high.
Can somebody explain a little bit more of that to me, I guess?
So the person that does the bank recs in our system initials it, and then we have secondary approvals, whether it's my staff, Barbara Doak, or Stacy Gainey, depending on who has signature authority on those accounts. Due to vacations and time off and things like that, periodically we're getting those reconciliations done speedy, but the secondary approval might get missed because they're out of the office. And so it's just going back. It's going back and putting a signature and a date whenever they're available. Because our goal is to reconcile those bank accounts as quickly as we can.
Okay.
So it's just the timing of
Okay.
secondary approvals.
Yeah. On the second page, we were unable to fully test capital assets while we were there at the county for field work. We did get reports last week, so we do have those reports now, but it is hard to test due to the volume of your capital assets. It's hard to test them outside of the field. So I just wanted you to be aware that we did not get those reports till last week. And under inventory, when the gals were out there testing, it was noted that the road department gauges on the fuel tanks were not working properly. So they either need to be replaced or use dipstick so you can properly track the fuel, whether it's weekly or monthly, however they want to do it, but something that works to keep track of the fuel out there.
Christie has something to say there, and the commissioners were definitely aware of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're currently testing the stick. However, if the stick is off, if it's not completely level, then it's still, that's even gonna be off. So this next time when they bring fuel, we're going to laser the stick to make sure it's level, so we get a complete accurate count, measurement. So we're still working on that, and we're keeping our own ledger of any fuel going in and out, outside of the Iris and the Phoenix system, so that we've got 3 different, just to make sure.
What if the 3 different disagree with each other?
Right now, we're disagreeing 104 gallons. And Ed Staub's been out, we sticked it before they put the fuel in, they've got explanations, we've got, so it's continuing.
Continue.
Work in process.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, probably not the appropriate time. So how do we know the gauges on Staub's are accurate?
Exactly. That's what we've asked Staub's. So we're communicating with them and meeting them when they do drop the fuel.
And I probably should have said the
So.
supplier, not.
Yeah,
Staub.
right. Well, there's only one here, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's gonna continue and we're gonna try and get that down to precise details.
Work in progress.
All right.
Okay, so those are the only points I had. Under open items, we do have capital assets, and then ORS 279 procurement process, that is the county's getting the bids and the quotes where needed. We did test the road department process of that, but we do always look at a few more, and we did get to that, and I need to email Denise a list, and probably Ann, so they can get a pile for me, because I'm going to be back in Lakeview October 27th, so I was hoping I could stop in for a half an hour and look at those files really quick.
Yeah, just shoot me a list.
Okay.
That'll work.
Yeah, and I will email that to you guys so you can
Yeah,
pull them for me.
Make sure you get one to Denise. She's not in the meeting today, so.
Okay, yep, and I did let her know that I might be looking at some of the vehicles that was purchased through
Okay,
that department.
very good. And
Okay.
so the only thing you're lacking is the attorney letter, which you're working with Jay, and the attorney will sign. Is that correct, Kara?
Yes, and I don't know, has the rep letter been signed and mailed back?
Not quite yet.
Okay,
But
that's
we'll
fine.
get that over now.
Yes, so the rep letter on your end and the attorney letter on my end.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Kara?
Straightforward.
Thank you very much, Kara.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
Kara.
meeting.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so, and the letter she's talking about, you'll get
Yeah.
us together to sign? Okay, we don't have to, that's just normal, we don't have to do any motions or anything. With that, we'll move on to our next, did you have anything to add or anything that we
Just-
need? I'm sorry.
I'll just comment that, after, I don't know how many years of doing this, when they're just finding these kinds of things that I consider relatively minor, I think we're doing an outstanding job. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that I don't think managers even understand for the finances of the county. And so, we continue to improve, and I like the audit process. It points out where we can make those improvements. And if we're talking about things like this, then we're doing great.
I agree with you. Anytime you're going to have an audit process, they're going to always have, some things are going to, whenever they're relatively minor, which we've been very good for a long time. We're doing very good.
And so, our offices are audited not only by the county auditor, but because we represent and do paperwork for the library, we get audited by them. So it is a 12-month process. It's always ongoing, so,
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you very much, Ann.
yes.
Okay, the next item we have meeting minutes. We have 4 sets of meeting minutes. And they are right here in front of me almost. Here they are. We have August 18th, we have August 19th, we have September 1st and September 2nd. Thank you, Christie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you being here.
Let me take a look at it. I'll brief them so quickly, I can't say that.
Boy, you're the only one that's gonna stick around here, sir. Man, you're a diehard.
Want to show you my support.
We could take this time here if you had any updates or anything you wanted to give from the
Actually,
DOC.
I did, I just want to share with you that Director of the Oregon Department of Corrections, Clett Peters, will be here the 27th and 28th of October, and she'll be speaking at the Rotary at noon on the 28th, so Commissioner Winters, if you're interested in attending, you can be my guest. I think, and Ken mentioned that I think Ulyss is inviting the Lions and Seroptimus.
Yes.
27th.
Wednesday the 28th, I believe.
28th is when she present
Yeah, right.
as a guest at the Rotary.
So you will take the fine for bringing the Lions to Rotary?
Absolutely.
Do you know the fine I will get if I go to Rotary? Because I haven't been to the Lions for a year. And you'll point that out, I'm sure.
I think I'm on a lot of people's list for fining for various reasons, so don't feel bad.
I will try to make that. Is there any chance of getting any time with the director that's not just during the speaking time?
She usually shows up about midday the day before, and she's leaving right after Rotary. If you'd like to get some time with her, Brett,
Yeah.
I'm sure we could.
I wouldn't mind. I could go out there or anything, out to Warner Creek or anything. I haven't built that connection, you know, with Max Williams. I had quite a connection,
Right.
and I just like to let her know how much I appreciate Warner Creek.
So what does Tuesday afternoon, the 27th, look like for your?
I'm open.
Okay, I will contact her assistant and we'll see if we can set an hour up for you that afternoon.
And it doesn't have to be that long. Whatever would work for her and work for you.
Okay.
And if there's, maybe we'll talk before the meeting.
Absolutely. You bet, that'd be great. I'll let you know.
Okay, that'd be great. Commissioner Kestner, are you ready to
I
make a
move
motion?
that we accept the work session minutes of August 18th, 2015 as given. And approve the August 19th regular session meeting minutes as given. And the September 1st work session minutes as given. And September the 2nd, the regular session, which was at Silver Lake, as given.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. No department updates. We will move on to legal updates. Mr. Bailey, sir.
One that we will have to address going forward, I just alerted to the issue, is we have an employee who has created personal websites that look as though they are official Lake County websites. They have a disclaimer at the very bottom, which is not easy or very noticeable. And we can probably address this by putting this, amending our computer program, because we've got a lot of other things in the computer program that deal with a lot of other similar types of issues in terms of social media and such. There's nothing improper that's going on the websites that we need to be concerned about, in the sense that there's a misrepresentation of everything. But the fact that it looks like it's an official Lake County website, and the URL describes Lake County, it's easy for someone to be confused and think that this is an official website, which would just cause problems for us and potentially for the public. So I think we need to address that. Lieutenant Howell has details on it. If you want to contact him about it, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. He can give you the web address and you can take a look at it. And then we can talk about how we address it. The county employee was making use of some county property in the sense of photographs and reports. Again, no distortion, but that's inappropriate. That's misuse of county property, unless the individual goes through the normal process of requesting public records. Because these things would be public records, but they're being used before they actually get filed. So we have to get
This discussion's all for open session.
As I'm describing it, yes.
So we need to take care of that.
Well, my suggestion is that you contact Lieutenant Hobble to get the website so you can see what it looks like, and then we can go forward from there, because I have some specific recommendations for what we should do to address it. But you need to understand exactly what it looks like, instead of having me just describe it generally like this.
And we worked with Paul and with Jay to get that corrected in some
Right.
fashion with your recommendations.
Right. This is a little bit of a, we have to be a little delicate about this because there are free speech issues in terms of what someone puts on their website. And if their website has the word Lake County in it, that's totally okay for them to buy that particular web address. But we also do have the right to prevent somebody from engaging in behavior that either may mislead the public about it being an official website or improper use of county property, in which case these would be reports or photographs. So,
Is this website linked to the actual county website in any way?
no. Now, like I said, there is a disclaimer on it, but it's not noticeable. I mean, you have to scroll down and look for a disclaimer, and then it's, you know, it's kind of like, you know,
That's the way all disclaimers are.
You know,
I mean, that's-
closed course professional driver, do not attempt. That's kind of the same thing. You never notice that, so.
yeah. Okay, anything else for?
Well, there's some other issues that we wanted to talk about in the executive session. One that Ken brought forward about Lake County making its position known with regard to 3 lawsuits that have been filed involving cattle grazing and the effect that it has on some Lake County residents. And there were 2 options suggested. One was to intervene in the lawsuit. I don't think we have a legal basis for actually intervening. We need an actual right of our own involved. The other is to submit an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court brief, that is typically presented to say, hey, we just want to point out to the court, here's our view on the legal issue, with the idea that perhaps this has not been fully explained or explained adequately by the parties, or to alert the court to there are parties beyond just the ones in front of you that are concerned about the effects of this. And you can do that typically. Amicus briefs are submitted after the trial, so these are suits that have just been filed. And it's going on appeal because then the factual record is set, and you can see, you may not disagree with the decision, you might like the decision of the trial court. So if there's an appeal, then the factual record is set, you can refer to that in the amicus brief. We can do it at the trial level to simply alert the court that it's of larger concern than just the parties that are listed in the lawsuit. So those are our options. And the basis of the suit is that the decisions regarding grazing have not followed proper statutory requirements with regard to several different types of statutes. And so it's the sort of environmental interest group lawsuit that says here are the proper standards, and you haven't followed those, and therefore your plan is not valid. So we can certainly go on record with an amicus submission to the court that I'm not sure how effective it would be, but we can certainly submit it. And just in terms of full disclosure, I don't know anything about these issues that are being litigated. I know nothing about them. So whatever I write would be both basic and probably pretty brief.
Well, these groups that are suing are very, in their world, very influential and very well-funded.
Yeah.
My concern is I don't want to end up getting listed on a suit or anything. You know, they take government agencies to task all the time. Financially becomes a burden that you can't.
Well, you don't want to be intimidated by them, do you?
Yeah. We want them to be intimidated by us.
Right. I don't think if we submitted something that was an amicus brief, we'd get involved in a tar baby like that. We probably would get a lot of paper because we'd be one of the amicus briefs, and then we'd start getting the additional notices, so, and then additional filings. So in that sense, it could be sort of a pain to deal with, but.
With my Arkansas law degree, I'll do with that.
The real question, I think, is the parties who are being affected. I think it's worth seeing if they feel that the response of Fish and Wildlife and Forest Service is inadequate, that they're not gonna respond properly to really protect or defend in this action. If that's the case, then I think it's worth submitting something, so.
Okay. So really today, what we're doing is information, and you work with the people you're working with, and,
Well, the brief would have to be agreed to by the party in the lawsuit, correct?
No, we would file it on our own.
No, I mean, if we file it on our own, does the parties of the lawsuit have to agree for us to accept it? I mean, for the court to accept our?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
They can simply point out that we don't know what we're talking about or something like that. And in terms of intervening, that would be different.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my jest is, with the environmental group, their obvious purpose is to eliminate grazing on federal lands. And they may have some valid points on their lawsuit. I haven't briefed all the way through. Of course, they're gonna say what they're gonna say.
No, they're long lawsuits. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both about almost 50 pages.
But the thing is, it affects a local ranching community, and they lose the right or the privilege to graze. It shuts down they'll have substantial economic effect, which would transfer to the county economic effect.
Sure.
Social and cultural. So I'm looking, just a statement to the judge, basically, said, this is based on biology, but it has social and economic effects also, potentially. And then a second topic is the BLM management grouse EIS.
well, are we making a decision to file, I can't pronounce the word.
I can't tell you whether or not that would make sense yet, because I've only
Okay,
Yeah.
looked at the,
okay, so
Information
get
on it this time.
information, okay, all right,
We may decide not to,
okay,
but,
but we can if we
Yeah.
want.
and the brief, Jim indicated, is less of a tar baby, you might say, it's just a statement from the county,
right.
not an intervening.
The second issue was,
And just for information, on the BLM management grouse EIS, during that process, I was on the cooperating agency, and they wanted to close out some of their designated natural resource areas, usually an area of unique plant community or other resources. And they did on 3 NRAs within Lake County. One is substantial. Within 5 years, the permittee would be closed from grazing.
NRAs are natural resource areas.
Yeah, it's a type of ACEC. And I'm not so sure that the Bureau of Land Management had scientific basis for their decision, because I asked the responsible party of the Bureau what effects, what monitoring shows effects of livestock, and he could not answer. So I'm going through some records from the Bureau I requested and received. And locally, they have no data here. So the state office, they need to show us the rationale for excluding cows on those sites. Because again, they'll have a substantial effect on the ranching community and social and economics. So I'm proceeding through that way. Now, if they not provide any justification other than they just did it, then I'm not sure which course of action we could take. The protest period on the EIS is passed, but about the only thing we could do is say, BLM management, you never coordinated with it to ask us on this topic.
Are we considered cooperating, coordinating?
Well,
do we have that status with them?
We have cooperating, but cooperating is collaboration, cooperating, and coordination, 3 very distinct. And by us being a cooperating agency, it does not, that just give them info back and forth and review some things. But on the coordination, we pretty much require to come to us and say, what is your land use plan or ordinance or whatever? So, and they'll require my understanding, to try to meet our standards if they can legally do it, and they haven't done that. So being a cooperating agency, it doesn't forego the responsibility, or it doesn't preclude our course of action to demand a coordination on that subject. I'm still just information gathering on that, trying to find out what, I think the next step would be to write a letter to the Bureau of Land Management, the state office, and say, you guys did not coordinate, you have not shown any biological rationale for closing livestock. Prove to us why that is needed.
Very important to stay on that. Support that very much.
That's why I went to that thing up in Baker City. It was some little radicalism, and I was there to get the points. And Andy Reaver is much on this too, but I need to do my due diligence, find out if they have a solid basis for excluding cows on those, other than just the one or two, or to appease a special interest group.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Any other legal updates for open session?
No, and nothing for executive session.
Yes, executive session, I'd like to go into potential land acquisition.
Oh, okay.
Acquisition.
Acquisition.
I think I emailed you, and it's. Like,
Oh, yeah, I didn't know you were doing executive session. So this would be.
What part of executive session did I not write down, I wonder?
Maybe you left the second E out, I don't know.
I don't know. Probably with me, absolutely.
This will be.
You want me to tell you what it's under?
I'm trying to find that now.
Thanks, Steve.
Real estate, real property transactions, subsection.
So we'll go under that section at 25 minutes to 12.
And the persons remain